Your brain turns on again at 3 a.m., and it's not random. You wake up. It's dark. You check the clock. 3:07 a.m. Your body feels heavy with exhaustion, but your mind is suddenly alert. Not anxious exactly, not fully awake either, just on, like a switch flipped somewhere deep inside. And the strange part is that you were sleeping, you were finally resting. Then something shifted. So why does your brain switch back on when it should be going deeper? Why do you wake up at 3 a.m. and feel your brain won't shut off? Why does a racing mind appear out of nowhere at night? Why can't you fall asleep again even though you're exhausted? And why does this seem to get worse after 40? The answer isn't what most people think, but to understand it, we need to look at what your brain is actually doing next. I'm Dr. Sarah, a sleep medicine specialist with a background in psychiatry. For years, I've worked with people who can't fall asleep no matter how tired they are. People who wake up at 3 a.m. and feel instantly alert. People who struggle with insomnia after 40 and don't understand why it started. People who feel their brain won't shut off the moment the lights go out. People who experience a racing mind at night without clear anxiety. And people who simply want to sleep through the night again. Sleep science explains something most people are never told. This isn't just stress, and it's not simply bad habits. It's not overthinking, it's not a lack of discipline, and it's not because your body forgot how to sleep. There's a biological shift happening behind the scenes. Most conventional advice focuses on routines and relaxation. You're told to improve sleep hygiene. You're told to avoid screens. You're told to calm your thoughts. And while those strategies can help, they don't address the core state of the brain, because if the brain has entered a protective nighttime mode, no surface habit can fully override it. I've seen patients do everything right and still wake up at 3 a.m. They remove caffeine, they meditate, they exercise, they follow strict bedtime schedules, yet their brain still turns back on in the middle of the night. That tells us the issue is deeper than routine. Especially after 40, subtle physiological changes begin to matter more. Cortisol becomes more reactive. The nervous system becomes more sensitive to perceived vulnerability. Circadian rhythm timing can shift earlier. These changes are natural, not pathological, but they create a new internal environment at night, and that environment can increase sleep fragmentation. So if you wake up at 3 a.m. and can't fall asleep again, it doesn't mean you're broken. It means your brain may be entering a specific biological state, a state designed for protection, not rest, a state that explains why your mind feels suddenly alert, a state that makes sleep feel unstable instead of restorative, and understanding that state is the key to understanding what happens next. Here's what's actually happening inside your brain at night. Your body goes to bed, but your nervous system does not fully power down. Under normal conditions, the brain shifts into what we call the sleep switch. This is the transition from alertness to deep restoration. It is automatic and biological. It does not require effort. And when it works, you sleep through the night naturally. During this shift, your heart rate begins to slow. Cortisol levels gradually drop. The nervous system moves out of defensive mode. Brain activity becomes more synchronized. Melatonin signals deepen the rhythm of sleep. Muscles release subtle tension, and the body enters a state of internal safety. But for some people, that shift does not complete. Instead of deepening into rest, the brain stalls. It hovers between sleep and vigilance, and then something changes internally. Rather than descending further, the brain activates. This is what we call brain alert mode, and it can happen even while you are already asleep. When brain alert mode activates, you wake up at 3 a.m. You feel your brain won't shut off. Your thoughts begin moving faster than they were minutes before. Your body may feel tired, but your mind feels switched on. You try to relax, but the alertness remains. You can't fall asleep again easily, and sleep becomes fragmented instead of continuous. Over time, this pattern repeats. You begin anticipating the awakening. Your nervous system becomes more sensitive to subtle shifts. Even small cortisol fluctuations feel amplified. The sleep switch becomes unstable. You stop sleeping through the night consistently, and you wake up tired even after hours in bed. But the real question is not why you wake up. The deeper question is why the brain would activate at all. Why would it interrupt rest that your body clearly needs? Why would it trigger alertness in the middle of the night? Why would this pattern intensify after 40 for some people? Most explanations stop at stress or anxiety, but the real mechanism begins beneath that surface. Modern sleep science has identified a specific biological state. It is not widely discussed outside clinical research, yet it explains why your brain turns back on at night. It explains why sleep becomes fragmented. It explains why alertness appears without warning, and it explains why this pattern feels so consistent. This state is called the Neural Sleep Inhibition Response. The Neural Sleep Inhibition Response is not a disorder. It is not a diagnosis. It is a biological safety mechanism. It evolved to protect you during vulnerable hours. It involves cortisol regulation patterns. It involves nervous system activation thresholds, and it interacts directly with circadian rhythm timing. At night, your brain constantly evaluates safety. Most of this evaluation is unconscious. If vulnerability is detected, even subtly, the system prepares for possible threat. Nighttime threat detection increases vigilance. Cortisol may shift earlier than expected, and the nervous system tightens instead of softening. When that happens, the neural sleep inhibition response activates. Deep sleep becomes partially blocked. The sleep switch loses stability. Brain alert mode increases in intensity. Restoration becomes secondary to protection. Even if there is no real danger present, even if you were asleep moments before. For some people, this shows up as waking at 3 a.m. For others, it appears as difficulty falling asleep initially. For others, sleep feels light and easily disrupted. Some experience a racing mind at night. Some feel their brain won't shut off. Some wake up tired despite hours in bed. Different symptoms, but the same underlying mechanism. The important thing to understand is this: your brain is not malfunctioning. It is following a protective biological script, a script influenced by cortisol timing, a script shaped by nervous system sensitivity, a script that becomes more reactive after 40. But why does this response peak so often around 3 a.m. specifically? After 40, the body naturally begins to change. These changes are gradual and often unnoticed at first. They do not mean something is wrong. They do not mean your body is failing. They reflect normal biological aging patterns. But at night, those subtle shifts matter more, especially when it comes to sleep stability. Cortisol becomes slightly more sensitive to fluctuation. Hormonal buffering becomes less resilient under stress. Circadian timing can shift a bit earlier than before. The window of deepest sleep may narrow. Nighttime awakenings become easier to trigger. The nervous system becomes more reactive to subtle signals, and recovery from activation can take longer. This does not mean you are broken. It means your system is more responsive. Protective mechanisms activate faster. Alertness thresholds lower slightly. The brain evaluates vulnerability more quickly. Even small internal changes can register as significant, and nighttime becomes more biologically delicate. So if the neural sleep inhibition response is triggered, it triggers more easily after 40. A mild cortisol rise can feel amplified. A minor circadian shift can destabilize the sleep switch. The nervous system can enter brain alert mode faster, and returning to deep sleep can take longer, even if you slept perfectly for decades before. That is why many people struggle with insomnia after 40. They assume it is stress or coincidence. They assume they suddenly forgot how to sleep. But the underlying physiology has shifted. The brain's safety calibration has adjusted. Protection becomes slightly prioritized over restoration, and that changes the nighttime landscape. This is also why learning how to stay asleep all night requires working with physiology instead of fighting it. You cannot force the nervous system to relax. You cannot overpower cortisol with willpower. You have to stabilize the internal signals first. You have to reduce the trigger threshold of activation, and that leads us to the deeper issue beneath this sensitivity. The problem isn't that you can't sleep. The problem is not that your body forgot how to rest. It's not that you suddenly developed weakness. It's not that your mind is defective. The real issue is deeper than the word insomnia. The real issue is state regulation, and that state begins with perceived safety. The problem is that your brain doesn't feel safe enough to stay asleep. Sleep requires vulnerability. Vulnerability requires internal security signals. When those signals are stable, deep sleep continues. When those signals fluctuate, protection activates. The brain always prioritizes survival over restoration, even if the threat is subtle or invisible. When safety signals drop at night, small changes begin. Cortisol rises slightly earlier than expected. The nervous system tightens instead of softening. Circadian rhythm timing becomes less stable. Micro-arousals increase beneath awareness. The sleep switch loses consistency, and the system prepares for vigilance. That is when the neural sleep inhibition response reactivates. It does not ask permission. It does not evaluate logic. It simply follows protective programming. Deep sleep becomes partially blocked. Brain alert mode increases quietly, and the shift feels sudden from your perspective. That's when you wake up at 3 a.m. Your brain won't shut off even though you are exhausted. You feel mentally alert in the darkness. Thoughts begin to move without invitation. Your body feels heavy, but your mind feels active. You can't fall asleep easily again, and you stop sleeping through the night consistently. Over time, something else happens. You begin anticipating the awakening. Night becomes associated with interruption. You start fearing the silence and stillness. That anticipation subtly raises cortisol earlier, which quietly strengthens the cycle. So how do you interrupt a pattern your brain believes is protective? You don't fix this by forcing sleep. You cannot command the brain to power down. You cannot pressure the nervous system into surrender. Trying harder often increases internal tension. Effort alone can quietly signal that something is wrong, and that effort alone can maintain alertness. Sleep does not respond well to force. You fix this by lowering the nighttime alert signal. You reduce the biological cues of vulnerability. You stabilize the internal environment before bed. You support the rhythm the brain is designed to follow. You work with cortisol instead of fighting it. You calm the nervous system at its root level, and you protect the sleep switch from instability. When the nervous system genuinely feels safe, cortisol stabilizes into its natural curve. Melatonin flows without resistance. Brainwave patterns deepen gradually. Muscles release tension more completely. Micro-arousals decrease in frequency, and deep sleep becomes accessible again. This is when the brain allows you to sleep through the night. Not because it was forced, not because it was sedated, but because protection is no longer prioritized. Restoration becomes safe again. The sleep switch holds steady, and awakenings become less frequent. This isn't sedation, it's restoring internal stability. It's recalibrating safety detection. It's reducing unnecessary nighttime vigilance. It's allowing biology to follow its intended rhythm. And when the neural sleep inhibition response lowers, 3 a.m. stops feeling like an automatic trigger. But here's what most people overlook. They focus only on surface relaxation. They ignore internal physiological buffering. They underestimate subtle cortisol shifts. They miss one critical support factor entirely, and without that support, stability remains fragile. That missing factor is what determines why 3 a.m. stays repeating. Alongside circadian alignment and nervous system regulation, some people benefit from gentle internal nighttime support. This is not about overpowering the brain. It is about reinforcing stability from within, especially when cortisol sensitivity is higher after 40, especially when awakenings feel patterned and predictable, and especially when the sleep switch feels fragile. Certain natural compounds can help buffer cortisol. They can support healthy melatonin timing. They can stabilize the sleep switch before bedtime. They can reduce intensity of brain alert mode. They work by supporting physiology rather than suppressing it. They complement circadian rhythm instead of replacing it, and they encourage the nervous system to feel safer at night. This isn't medication. It is not sedation. It does not force unconsciousness. It does not override protective biology. It is doctor-approved physiological support. It is designed to work with the body's rhythm, and it respects how the brain regulates sleep. I've listed the specific formula I recommend in the first pinned comment below. It is the same type of support I discuss with patients. It focuses on stabilizing cortisol patterns. It supports melatonin's natural curve. It helps reduce unnecessary nighttime activation, and it aligns with the science behind the neural sleep inhibition response. It's completely optional. Many people start with rhythm and behavioral alignment first, but for some, internal support accelerates stability. It makes the system less reactive at 3 a.m. It helps the brain lower the neural sleep inhibition response more consistently. It reduces the intensity of repeated awakenings, and it supports sleeping through the night more reliably. Still, no supplement replaces understanding. If you don't understand the mechanism, progress feels random. If you don't understand brain alert mode, you may misinterpret symptoms. If you don't understand cortisol timing, you may miss the trigger. The foundation is always biological awareness. And there is one more critical piece that determines why 3 a.m. specifically becomes the trigger. That final piece changes how you see the entire pattern. When this response lowers, patterns begin to shift, not dramatically at first, but noticeably. The nervous system becomes less reactive at night. Cortisol fluctuations soften instead of spike. The sleep switch holds more consistently, and awakenings lose their intensity. This is where real change starts to appear. People report fewer 3 a.m. awakenings. If they do wake up, they fall back asleep faster. Sleep feels deeper and more continuous. They begin sleeping through the night more often. Mornings feel clearer instead of foggy. The racing mind at night becomes quieter, and bedtime no longer feels tense or uncertain. This does not happen because insomnia magically disappeared. It does not happen because the brain was forced into silence. It does not happen because willpower suddenly increased. It happens because defense mode reduced. The neural sleep inhibition response lowers its intensity. Protection stops overriding restoration, and biology begins following its intended rhythm again. You were never broken. Your brain was never malfunctioning. It was protecting you based on perceived vulnerability. It was prioritizing safety over depth of sleep, even if that protection became unnecessary. Even if the signal was outdated, the intention was always defense. And protection can be recalibrated, safety signals can be strengthened, cortisol timing can be stabilized, the nervous system can relearn nighttime security, the sleep switch can regain consistency, and 3 a.m. can lose its automatic power. But there is one factor that determines why 3 a.m. specifically becomes the trigger. There is a timing detail most people don't know. It involves the natural circadian cortisol rise. It involves a narrow biological window. It involves why brain alert mode peaks when it does. It explains why 3 a.m. to 3:30 a.m. feels so precise. And once you see that timing clearly, the pattern becomes predictable. That timing detail is what we need to look at next. In the next video, I'll explain why the brain enters brain alert mode most intensely between 3 a.m. and 3:30 a.m. There is a precise biological reason for that window. It is not coincidence. It is not imagination. It is not simply stress surfacing. It is a measurable physiological transition, and it follows a predictable circadian sequence. We'll look at how cortisol begins its early morning rise. We'll examine subtle circadian rhythm shifts after 40. We'll connect those shifts to nervous system sensitivity, and we'll see how they intersect with the neural sleep inhibition response. This intersection explains the sudden alertness. It explains why your brain feels switched on, and it explains why that timing feels so exact. Once you understand that timing, you'll finally understand how to stay asleep all night. You'll see why you wake up at 3 a.m. specifically. You'll recognize the internal trigger before it escalates. You'll understand how to stabilize the window instead of fearing it. And you'll stop interpreting 3 a.m. as random insomnia. You'll see it as a solvable biological pattern. Watch that next, because the timing detail changes everything. It reframes the entire 3 a.m. experience. It connects cortisol, circadian rhythm, and nighttime alert mode. It shows you where intervention actually matters, and it reveals why some nights feel predictable, especially if you've been struggling to sleep through the night. 3 a.m. isn't random. It is a convergence point in your biology, a moment where protection and restoration compete, a moment influenced by hormonal timing, a moment shaped by nervous system sensitivity. And once you see that convergence clearly, the pattern stops feeling mysterious and starts feeling measurable.